Hi, my name is Webster Smith. I am a 2022 Chubb Fellow at the New York Academy of Art. There is an application to apply for the Chubb Fellowship, and then it is awarded to 3 individuals right around the time of graduation. So I found out right before I graduated that I would have, in fact, another year here at the New York Academy of Art, thanks to Chubb. I remember just being unbelievably excited. I get to work and practice as an artist in New York City for a 3rd year. I have a studio space that will help me get to that next level. So the Chubb Fellowship gives me the ability to take on these projects that I've been thinking about for some time. It's giving me the space and the time to be able to do that. I also have a stipend that I'm able to use directly for these projects. I really have a great package to be able to focus on my work and create some things that I think are going to be truly spectacular, or I hope that anyways. Another thing that the Chubb Fellowship provides for me is to be in this incredibly creative community of the New York Academy of Art. I get to see art being made every day by my peers, and I get to talk to my professors, and that's just a once-in-a-lifetime kind of experience to have. I grew up in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, and as a kid, I would explore the San Juan Mountains camping with my family. We would go check out old mining camps, things like that. And so I'd see these objects of the past, of the West, the very physical, real West. It's that sense of place, and I'm very proud of where I come from, but it's also looking at those fictional aspects of the American West. And now that I'm older and understand some of the darker elements to those fictions, I want to challenge those myths in my work. I work primarily in watercolor, and so there's a lot of layering, much like the American West. Again, looking at both the factual and fictional, and how much is embedded in that of our own understandings of what is the American West. So I often will tell people, there's a lot of details in this work that will expose themselves the longer you look at it. Living in New York City is such a unique experience, especially for just a country boy like myself. It really has opened my eyes to a whole new world. I mean, I get to see museums. There's so many cultural institutions right at my fingertips. So I've seen past Chubb Fellows have a very strong art career, and that is something that I'm hoping to achieve as well. I'm relatively new to all of this as far as thinking about making art as a full-time job and career, but that's something that I absolutely want to do. And I do hope to be in galleries as an artist moving forward and taken seriously as an artist. I would say to Chubb, thank you, first and foremost, and that I'm incredibly excited for this opportunity. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, thanks to Chubb.
I've always been interested in art. My parents are both in the creative industries. I was a graphic designer for about 7 years, and that was great, but it didn't really serve me. And so I was painting all through my 20s, but just on my own. But then I kind of decided to come to the New York Academy's summer residency program. I just spent like every single hour in the studio working till like closing, and just was like, this is it. This is kind of what I want to be doing. And now I'm doing my fellowship. Hi, I'm Wilbur Simpson. I'm a 2022 Chubb Fellow at the New York Academy of Art. I was pretty ecstatic, to be honest. I really wanted it. I wanted that opportunity because I am quite young in my career, and I thought it'd be such a great professional practice and exposure for me. The expectations and hopes I have for the Chubb Fellowship is probably the opportunity to be able to paint, have a studio, and just like non-stop go. And then obviously the professional exposure to the industry is an extremely beneficial thing that for a young artist like myself wouldn't really be given those opportunities. I'm like over the moon. Couple years in and going to Art Basel, amazing. I use a lot of mixed media, I use video, I use a lot of foam to make sculpture and concrete. For the most part, I've been using ground up charcoal. And for me, it's really enabled myself to work at a rate that I can articulate things. It's very quick, and it means that I can work in real time kind of thing. And I use many different methods of reduction and additive methods, whether it's using tape or, like stiff sponges with dried paint in it that create a certain sense of texture that I can get to create that environment. I kind of relate it to the same way that filmmakers would probably think in terms of telling story, where you have, the interesting character or subject matter challenged by something. And then that challenge influences the outcome of the story's end. And for me, the story's end is the third and fourth act, and that's just painting thing. You have the skeleton or the bones to the idea there that exists, but knowing that it can always evolve into something that can be found rather than predetermined. It's a good place, but it's a stressful place to be. But I think that's where you need to be sometimes. You need to feel a little bit uncomfortable. You need to feel a little confident. You just need to be in that place. I think there's a real advantage of being a Chubb Fellow where you have some ambitious projects that you're wanting to achieve, and I feel that the New York Academy can provide real agency to facilitating making that happen. From a current Chubb Fellow to a future Chubb Fellow, I would suggest just get stuck into your work now and work hard, and as long as you get the work done, you'll be seen. It's all to do with working hard, staying late, doing the time.
When I first found out about the Chubb Fellowship, my real honest reaction was that I screamed and then I cried. And then I went on a really long walk and I called everyone I knew. I'm Lydia Baker. I'm a Chubb 2021 Fellow at the New York Academy of Art. I definitely wanted to apply, not even a question. I mean, this is really the biggest thing that's happened to me since being in New York. So it's life-changing. So I have a studio to work, and I've got natural light, which is very important to my process. I have quiet, and then the really nice thing also is that I still have the dialogue between other people. So if I want to talk to other students about art, I can, and if I want to talk to faculty, I can. So it's kind of the perfect mix of having that alone time to focus, but then still having the encouragement and inspiration from my peers. They give us a stipend, and that makes it so that we can fully 100% pursue art without having to work, hopefully, which for me, I'm in that sweet spot right now where I can afford that. The Chubb Fellowship is going to be providing a lot of exhibition opportunities, so that's a really big deal. Wouldn't have happened otherwise. And then also we're going to have a exhibition at the school in September, and it will just be myself, Maud, and Luhan all together. So having a 3-person show, that'll be a first for me, and I'm sure it'll be widely seen, so I'm very excited about that. I mean, it feels really good to be acknowledged and supported. I would tell Chubb that I'm extremely thankful. I will not take it for granted. That I plan on working every minute I have to make this body of work come to life because of the studio space and the stipend and the exposure.
I think I've always been interested in art. When I was a really little kid, I would paint and draw with my family. I felt very much like I could be myself while I was doing that. My name is Citron, and I'm an oil painter. And really all of my paintings, I like to kind of build up different surfaces and different textures. And I'll do that by mixing different mediums into my paint. So either linseed oil or sort of different varnishes or things that will just kind of give the paint different consistencies. And I really think of it a lot like cooking, mixing these different ingredients and having these different textures work together to then create a final product. I do figure painting, so I'm building these figures and the textures really become the skin of the people that I'm creating. My art is about myself and my identity, and specifically my queer identity, my Jewish family identity, and how all of these things work together. They really do feel intersected, and I think that's where a lot of the sort of buildup of paint comes from in my paintings. This is a wonderful opportunity to have the time and the space to work on painting for this year is really an incredible gift. I really am very grateful to have the time to keep working.
I'm Atalanta Zanthi. I was born in London and I make paintings, drawings and sculptures. For me, getting the Chubb Fellowship is kind of the biggest thing that's happened yet, so it feels like a real pivot point in my life. I really loved sort of old master paintings, and I wanted to know, a little bit about how they made them and how I could make my work look more like that. So the Academy was the perfect place for me to learn that kind of skill. What a perfect fit the Academy was, to be surrounded by people who share my passion. Most of my work is fairly narrative. A story from my childhood or from my family sort of generates the picture for me. So I love the 14th century Italian art, I like lots of German wood carving, and these all kind of get blended up together to sort of create a sort of almost like a mishmash aesthetic. Every time I learn a technique, it's like a new door being opened. So this year I learned relief sculpture and I learned much more printmaking than I had before. And it's like with each different material, they carry new sort of, looks and smells with them almost. And you kind of sort of think, oh, this idea would fit this medium. Some ideas come as paintings, some ideas come as drawings. When I think about the most striking sort of visual experiences I've had, many of those come from watching plays or watching the opera. The further away you are from the stage, the more incredible the experience becomes because you're looking into this tiny box. Almost by being so small, it becomes much more magical. Got me thinking about what I could do to make sort of stage-like works. A lot of my work is a little bit gloomy. I think sort of humor creeps in as a way of kind of counteracting that. As a Chubb Fellow, I'll be allowed to give critiques to students. The fact that people will now be, officially asking me to give them feedback on their work is really exciting, so I can't wait for that bit in particular. I'm looking forward to continuing to make work that's ambitious in its kind of complexity and technical development. So for me, it's really unlocked a key to a kind of art career that I don't think I could have gotten off the ground for several years if I hadn't had this opportunity. So, thank you guys.
Hi, I'm Demo. I'm 26 years old and I'm from China and I'm a painter. When I was in China, it's hard to see the original old masterpieces, and in New York it's so easier to reach good resources and different galleries. I can learn more. Before I concentrate only on the classical art. Now I know more variety of the art forms. At first, I draw some sketches from my imagination, do some very abstract compositions, and then I use my iPad to do some collages. I may use some photographs from fashion design, may use some screenshot from the movies. And then I transfer to the canvas. At first, I do very abstract brushstrokes to have the whole idea of the atmosphere. And then at the third stage, I go back to the details. And then I realize maybe it's too much because sometimes I always overpainted. I need to get the whole picture again. If I paint more, it won't look better, or even worse, I will stop it. At first, I moved here, I feel a little bit lonely. And then I went to academy and a lot of friendly students here. I made a lot of good friends and my English improved a lot too. Also, I'm very willing to help students to solve their problems, especially technique problems, which I'm very good at. My studio mate Isaac, he's also another fellow from last year. He's such an amazing painter. When we shared together and he became more and more figurative, I became more and more abstract. I think we are a really good combination. He also inspires me a lot. I'm a high-skilled painter. I had a very intense training in China. I want to combine more with my own imagination and my intense training together and find my own language of art. The CHAP Fellowship means a lot to me because it's such an honor and build my art career. I have more experience here and I will get improved. I have a very simple life: school, paint, and go back home.